Well, happy holidays, everyone. Welcome to our last council meeting of the year. Let me call to order this regular city council meeting for December 16, 2024. Maria, would you please call the roll?
Fritz,
Here.
Lowe,
Here.
McLaughlin,
Here.
Manetza.
Here. Our invocation this evening is by Pastor Emmett Brown of Trinity Church. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Greetings and Merry Christmas to the City Council and all those here from the congregation of Trinity Church in Grand Haven. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this season that we're journeying into and the reason that is set aside for. Father, as we know that there's a time of celebration, we also know that there's time to get work done. And we're very thankful for this council and their dedication to getting the work done, for the sacrifices they make to be here and do the things, and sometimes making the hard decisions or even the unpopular decisions. Lord, we pray for them and guide them by your light, that they will put aside personal ambitions and be focused more on what is best for the city of Grand Haven. We pray that you will bless these anointed elders of the city with your wisdom and your grace. And all these things, Lord, we pray in your precious name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, I have no appointments or reappointments this evening, so that brings us to the approval of the consent and regular agendas. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved. Or support?
I heard Karen first, so she could. Motion by Lowe, second by McLaughlin.
Yes.
Any changes that we need to make on consent or regular agendas? If not, would you please call the roll?
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. Brings us to our first call to the audience. This time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3203. And I would note that there are no public hearings tonight, so this will be your only opportunity to address council before we take action on our agenda items. So who would like to address council?
Good evening. It's been a while since I've been up at this podium, but my topic, or maybe the theme of my topic, is similar to what I've talked about before. It's actually transparency. And this is something that I meant to do quite a while ago, and sort of the background on it was we had a big beech tree that went down on Grand Avenue, and it knocked out power, so we had a big group from both Highland Park and some from Grand, and we were over by Cindy's house, and we started talking about projects going on in the city, and one of the fellows from Highland Park said, "Hey, what do you think is going to happen about the parking project?" And I said, on South Harbor, and I said, "Yeah, I heard something about that, but I have no idea what the heck it is." He said, "I looked into it, and it's a project to put parking all the way from Nodos pretty much to the curve down at Grand, and also to put a traffic circle in and another parking lot at the intersection of Lake and South Harbor." So he sent me a little information, and I couldn't find anything on it, to be honest. So I did a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, on it, and lo and behold, I found out that, yeah, the city had executed a project with Evan March to do some preliminary design work. And it did consist of 100 parking spots from Nodos on down, a traffic circle, and a 20 parking lot or parking space lot to going to the north from that intersection of Lake and South Harbor. So I wanted to, and I did submit to the clerk, and all you have a copy of it, all the drawings. There's 5 drawings for the draft preliminary design from Nodos on to the south. And I'll tell you right now, 5 drawings is not really a draft package. Somebody had something much more in mind when they did that. It had all the topographic information. Well, you can look at it. You know, it was not a sketch. We've seen sketches of the basketball courts at Mulligan's. We've seen sketches when Grand was redone. This is well beyond a sketch. So anyway, I want to make it public record so people can see what the city was sort of developing. Because certainly I, and I think the majority of citizens here, do not want to see parking along our lakeshore like that. It's just parking, pull-in parking, all that way, 100 spots. So they pull in, back out, right into the traffic. You know, this was done when we knew we had many costs to the city. So people know about it now. You can get it from the packets.
Thank you. Who else would like to address council?
My name is Ryan Cotton, 515 Park Avenue, Grand Haven. I'm not sure everyone in the room is aware of the history of the beautiful tree that's decorated with the Christmas lights out front. If you are, then you maybe heard this before, but I just want to share in honor of Deb, who made the continuous improvement employee suggestion in 1999. I think it was Greg over at Community Service Department planted the tree. The idea was, why do we cut down trees and put them out there and decorate them? Why don't we? So 20 years later, or more than that, we have that beautiful tree there that, thanks to whoever, Ashley and the team here decorates that. I look forward to seeing it every year, and I think it's just awesome. So thank you.
Thank you. Who else would like to address council? There will be another opportunity to address council at the end of the meeting, but this would be your last opportunity to speak to council before we act on our agenda. So anyone else? If not, then we'll move on. Next, we have a presentation on the community energy plan. This is a follow-up with more detail from John Kinch.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm John Kinch. I live at 1523 Pine Ridge Drive. I'm also the executive director of Michigan Energy Options. We've been the nonprofit company that has been spearheading the plan for the last year or so, and I'm pleased to say that we're at a near final stage with that plan. You would have received in your packets, oh, thank you, your packets, a couple documents that represent some of the work of the plan. Let me just kind of refamiliarize yourself with the process and also then what you're looking at. So we, first and foremost, we spent a lot of time taking a technical analysis of the energy portfolio in our region, understanding what the generation resources were and what the opportunities would be for introducing more renewable energy and energy efficiency in the years ahead. That was our technical report. That was a big part of our report. And that research and analysis told us that we have an opportunity to move forward and to, in a real consequential way, decarbonize the economy over the next 25 years. Importantly, also, we reached out to our community and asked people what they thought of, knew of, cared about, what they wanted to see in the future. And there as well, we had a strong response. 378 people took the survey and overwhelmingly are interested in seeing us move forward on this particular way. And then lastly, from that, we came up with any number of strategies and sub-strategies that we feel are good ways forward to begin to, in a concerted way, decarbonize our region. And that region includes the city of Grand Haven, of course, Grand Haven Township, and Ferrysburg. Those are all the 3 municipalities that participated in the study and also provided us some walking around change. Thank you for that. Now, where we are now, though, is we're at a point in which we have 3 versions of the plan. We have a 2-pager, very easy to kind of digest. We have something that I refer to as a local government plan. It's about 20 pages. That's oriented towards folks such as yourself to help you understand how you might be able to make decisions that fall within your purview. And then we have a whopper of a plan that's 140 pages. That's for the quants and the audiences that want to really get into the detail. It also is frankly a plan that allows us to stand it up in the industry and be able to show people our math and to help people understand what we're doing. And then lastly, we have a couple tools we're leaving you with that allow you to keep track of carbon, to look at opportunities for modeling savings in the future. And also we have what I call an investment impact index, which allows you to put some numbers on making some decisions as to whether to act on a particular opportunity or not. So that's where we are as of today. The plans you have then are kind of near final, and the near final piece of this really has everything to do with you. We're hoping that, like the other councils in the area, that you'll take some time to review the plan, talk to staff about the plan. Ideally, staff will help you to understand parts of it that may not be necessarily clear to you because this isn't what you've been spending your day job at. Ashley's been wonderful joining us, as well as Eric Law and Brian Urquhart's been involved as well. I'm also available to answer any kind of questions you may have about that. And the hope is that you will adopt a plan that can move the community forward. And let me tell you what we think a plan might entail. Number one, it's been recommended by the Sustainability and Energy Commission, on which I sit as well, that council do consider adopting a plan with working with the city manager and having them kind of help you understand some of the intricacies of the plan. Secondly, the emphasis we're putting on the plan isn't just about doing things. There is that piece of it. We want to do things. We want to have greater energy efficiency, working with the BLP. We want to electrify the economy, all those kinds of good things. But what the plan has that's important is capacity building. You know, our feeling looking around the state of Michigan, my nonprofit works all around the state, is that our region could do better at pursuing outside grant funding and other opportunities like that. And so a couple of the no regret recommendations we have for you are to do just that, to set up a grant writing team of experts and locals to help do this. Think about hiring a community energy manager, and that position we believe strongly could be funded by outside funding, and also could be a contractor position, not a PTE or an FTE. And also begin to think about policies, both locally and in the region, that could be updated so that they're more friendly to various kinds of technologies and opportunities the economy is bringing forward for us. So that's the gist of the plan. The hope is that you come January, if it fits into your schedule. I've had a chance to review the plan. I mean, who doesn't want to read a 144-page plan about decarbonization over the holidays, right? I know Bob does. And then counsel with your staff, and then ideally they'll recommend what you may do in terms of adopting a plan. I will tell you that we're in good company. The state of Michigan has a My Healthy Climate Plan that's come out a couple years ago. There's legislation that's backing this, and then there's a number of other communities for whom we've worked as well, like Traverse City and Ann Arbor and others that are putting plans like this in play as well. I will say that this is the first plan, to my understanding, around the state and even largely around the country, in which you have a number of municipalities cooperating together in a regional kind of way to look at opportunities to have a greener, cleaner economy. And I think that's great. I think that is one of our calling cards when we go out to pursue outside funding for this project. So I'll pause there and ask if there's any immediate questions, or if Ashley, if something I should have said that I kind of didn't, discuss, cover most of the bases?
Yeah, you covered it well.
Okay.
Okay, questions?
Yeah, I'll start. John, on the investment impact index, a couple questions. You have one of the weights sort of is funding availability.
Yeah.
Did you do an analysis of just overall relative cost to implement, absent the funding availability?
Yeah.
For example, I'm trying to just get at, some of these might be easier, a relatively lower, cost to implement, even if funding is not, available. And so I wanted to see how that was taken into effect.
Right. That framework that we provided you is really kind of a national framework using resources that we got from Project Drawdown, also the Energy Information Administration and others. And what we tried to do then was to particularize it to our situation here in Michigan. And to be sure, there's certain sort of low cost, no cost, high cost benefit things you can do. One of the sayings in my profession is efficiency first. So seal up that building, get that building functioning well, then think about adding renewables to the building. But don't put solar on the roof of that building if it's a leaky old building that has incandescent lights and some things like that going on. But to be honest with you, and we do this all the time, we scope projects for the state of Michigan and other municipalities. It kind of does come down to kind of the particular situation you're in. We can make some rough estimates. We can say, that this is a payback. And some of that report, if you look at those kind of word ads in there, if you want to call those, we give you some of the per unit or cost benefits of doing certain things or how much money you can get back if you do a particular intervention. But really, when you get down to a project, frankly, you need to sort of look at it and you need to scope it out. You need to do some cost analysis. You need to understand what your payback is. You need to understand the potential carbon savings you're having and the energy savings. Our index allows you to prioritize those. If you want to save for carbon, that's a little different than saving for energy. All that being said, to me, the delta, the most important piece of all that, is if you can attract outside funding or other kinds of funding to build your capital stack, so you can minimize the amount of money that's coming out of your own pocket to make these kinds of projects happen. That's what we're trying to emphasize in this particular report. We're not saying do this, do that, and just figure out a way to raise taxes in your local community to get it done. That's not what this is.
I thought those, the direct and the indirect strategies were good. I guess, my question was, were there some quick hits? Are there some things that also have ancillary benefits outside of, move us toward our environmental, our desire to be a more green, community, whether it has the kind of impact that you were measuring or not. And so maybe the time to impact or maybe that quick hit helps us communicate the importance to members of the community, starts to make visible the strategy. Are there, and some of that might be in a lot lower level of detail than what we, needed, but those were some other little considerations I was looking at on especially as it related to food systems.
That's an interesting one, yeah.
And I thought there was a lot of overlap with that, with some other things, and I thought that we're not necessarily, might not be prioritizing as much, but could we get some, I don't know, something from focusing on that area?
Let me pick on one energy one first, and then I'll talk about the food system piece. Residential energy efficiency should be a focus of ours for all kinds of reasons. One is that utilities typically run those programs year over year, and in fact, in 2026, the local utilities are going to have to actually increase the amount of energy they're savings per a state law. So the amount of savings and rebates, rebates and incentives they're going to offer you for savings is going to increase. So they're going to be motivated to do this. The Board of Light and Power has been doing a great job with their energy waste reduction programs. The Michigan Gas Utility, the other incumbent here, has been doing a good job as well. That's an opportunity. But what makes it even more of an opportunity is the state of Michigan, through IRA funding, now is launching the Home Energy Rebate Program. And that program is going to put even more money out there for households to get rebates on energy efficiency, this and that. So already now you've got two things that can work well together. They're not even going to contradict each other. You can have them both. And add to that, there's lots of loans coming around through Michigan Saves is one example. There's also something called the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, another federal program in which a lot of that money is going to flow through CDFIs or even local community or credit unions and other kinds of lenders, so that even if you do have to do something that might be on your own dime, there's a good chance you can get a very affordable loan on that in which the payback makes sense. And also in some utility territories around the state, there's on-bill financing as well. So you can see why that one, again, because of timing to some extent, goes to the top of the list, and it kind of has a no regret quality to it. The food systems one, Karen, is really interesting in the sense that for dollar in, dollar out, you can have really a lot of carbon savings from doing that. It has everything to do with food waste. It has everything to do with, whether you're composting or whether you're just wasting a lot of food, whether it's going into a landfill, whether it's creating methane gas, whether that methane gas is ideally captured and reused as a heat or a fuel source. The energy component for the food piece of it is a little less direct. It really has everything to do with transportation and storage and heating, cooling, cooking, those kinds of things like that. It's not nearly as direct as the top three strategies we have, which is gearing towards buildings, on-site renewables, and the transportation sector. But it's absolutely one that we should be thinking about in this community, because I know that with the Sustainability and Energy Commission, we spend a lot of time thinking about could we be doing better in the recycling, composting, food waste side of things, and I think we can.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Well, I guess my other question was on the resource that you were asking us to consider budgeting for. Is that part of this?
That, I believe that was separate from this specific presentation. I know John has suggested that there might be grant funding in order to secure a part-time or contracted employee for management of this plan once adopted.
And is that I guess my question was, is there, a certain skill set that that individual should have, those, I didn't see that, all of the stuff in here, and I was just, wondering if you could say a little bit more about what.
Sure. Well, one is that looking around the country and looking around at community energy plans from Wisconsin to New York to Michigan to Florida, we have done our literature review. Almost 201, they recommend as an early strategy to have someone who's going to be championing this, getting up every morning and going to a job that's focusing on this, not adding it as a kind of an unpaid mandate to existing employees, unfinanced mandate, like, hey, just add this to your job because you do this over here in facilities. So we felt pretty strongly that this was a really important thing to do. That said, my nonprofit operates in a world where I oftentimes hire contractors for specific tasks. Instead of bringing somebody on as an FTE and having that 30% burden of benefits and all the rest, we hire a contractor, and we have a tight contract, and we expect certain kinds of performance indicators, and that person understands that this job starts here and this job ends here unless they're somehow able to pay for themselves and continue to do the work somehow, some way. And a community energy manager, or community energy plan coordinator, call it what you will, has been something that I have seen foundations and others around the state finance. And it can be done as a part-time position, so relatively inexpensive in terms of $20,000, $30,000 or less maybe as a part-time position. But again, the idea being is that it's got a start and an end to it, and that we put upon that person some real clear performance indicators of what they're doing, what they're accomplishing. And one of those things is what I've also done with contractors and other employees of my own, is that that person is responsible for chasing funding or pursuing funding that can then pay for that person's position. So they're self-funding to some extent. So the idea is that it's not a generalist position necessarily, and nor is it something just to add to somebody's already current position. And I will say that while the utilities such as Board of Light and Power have contractors that do their energy efficiency programs, Michigan Energy Option does energy efficiency programs for the Lansing Board of Water and Light and any number of utilities around the state of Michigan. Those are focused on realizing those goals that the utility has by state law. Mm-hmm. They're a little less focused upon the kind of community aspect, those sort of, those cups of coffee and conversations and those kinds of workshops and those kinds of public gatherings and things like that. And additionally, they're also focused very narrowly on somebody's, utility territory, or sometimes in the case of a city, like in Grand Rapids, they might be focused on just the sustainability in Grand Rapids. We're proposing that this is somebody that has a relationship throughout the region and helps all these communities that have been part of this plan realize some of those implementation goals.
I guess my last question is, and maybe this is more for you, Ashley, are we looking to, are you eventually looking for council to approve an overall plan that is similar to what we did with, say, the forest management plan, that doesn't necessarily have the assignment of budget, which is something that came late, came later as, deemed possible? Is that what you were looking for council
Yeah.
to do eventually?
More or less, we'll come back in January with some more specific recommendations in regard to the plan. And then as John mentioned, it's not necessarily going to be just an ROI consideration. There will be timing, there will be more of an impact that we might be looking to make. So we'll make those specific recommendations to you. And we're fortunate, again, to have the support of the Sustainability Commission, who will help advise and make those recommendations and for implementation. So we'd look to come back in January with that type of recommendation and then seek funding as appropriate and budget as appropriate. But this still aligns well with our budget process for next fiscal year.
That's all from me.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I think it'd be fair to say the plan is broad-based and has direction.
Right.
Has goals and such, but we need to
It's a
turn those into
long-term plan.
specific items that we might tackle.
Right.
And so that piece of it will come
It's another layer.
subsequent
right.
to the plan. Other questions?
No, I'm good.
Good.
Okay, well, I appreciate the plan and the fact that it does deal with some specifics and it does deal with some metrics and such. We will probably be interested in talking to other communities with similar plans and seeing who have already begun implementation to see what they've done. You're correct in saying we need to build capacity, both in grant writing and fiscal capacity, our ability to do these things. When we try to incentivize programs, that usually carries a cost with it. And when we try to simply enable people, and we need to know that we're enabling the right things, that we're going to get what we're expected. So it's still a complex endeavor. The plan certainly gives us guidance. I assume now the plan is complete enough that it's ready for us to entertain adoption, and there will be no more major changes or even minor changes. So it's pretty much ready to go. Is that correct?
What I would say is that it's near final and that I wanted to give you an opportunity to look at the plan, any of the three versions of it, and either get back to me if there's something amiss or something that you have a question about, and we can fix that up, or reach out to Ashley or staff, and we can go from there, and then clean it up to make sure that it's pitch perfect, and so that when it comes to adopting it, you're adopting something which is a clean copy and one that's ready to go.
Thank you. And of course, any plan would be a living plan that would need to be adjusted as you go, but it should be ready for adoption about as soon as we get back with you.
Yeah, and thanks. And that reminds me, one of the sub-strategies, I think the last one, suggests, to revisit the plan with a kind of regular cadence and to see if it's still holding water, see if there's some things that have, in the years to come, pops up that it wasn't on the radar today, but needs to have an attention. So absolutely, it's a living plan.
Okay. Well, I don't have any other questions. Thank you very much.
Hey,
Thank you
thank
for
you all
all the
again.
work, for the work of the
Appreciate
SEC, for you and your staff. Been a long time coming, lots of work, lots of detail behind it. And so we got a good snapshot of where we're at and where we're going. So,
Again, thank you all.
Thanks, John.
thank you.
Thanks, John.
All right. That brings us to our consent agenda. Would you please read that?
Item A, approve council regular meeting minutes of December 2nd, 2024. Item B, approve the bills memo in the amount of $501,521.95. Item C, approve a resolution to award a contract between the city and Big Blue LLC for the commercial slip at the Grand Haven Municipal Marina. Item D, approve fiscal year 2024-25 budget amendments for the City of Grand Haven General Fund, Public Improvement Fund, City Water Fund, Motor Pool Fund, and Sewer Authority Fund. Item E, award a contract to Monarch Tree Services of Utica, Michigan, 49448, in the budgeted amount of $38,500.07 for tree removal, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the necessary documents. And item F, award a contract to partial tree care of 1388 Comstock Street, Marne, Michigan, 49435, in the budgeted amount of $114,220 for tree removal, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the necessary.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Any questions on any item on the consent agenda? If not, would you please call the roll?
Fritz?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes. We have an item of unfinished business. Would you please read that?
Consideration by City Council of a final resolution to amend Chapter 15, Article 2 of the Grand Haven Code of Ordinances to adopt the 2021 edition of the International Fire Code. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. This is our second reading or our final resolution. The charter requires that we cannot adopt an ordinance in the same meeting where it was introduced, so this is our second shot at it. And unless there are changes, usually this is fairly routine, but sometimes other things come up. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or want clarification on what this is? If not, then please call the roll.
Fritz?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes. All right, first item of new business.
Item A, consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve a contract modification in the budgeted amount of $56,889 with Plumbers Environmental Services, Inc. of Byron Center, Michigan for the distribution system and service material investigation project, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the necessary documents. Administration recommends approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Fritz, second by McLaughlin. Ashley, do you want to explain this, or do we have a staff member?
Dana will introduce this.
Dana?
Good evening, Council. So before you this evening is a request, as noted in the resolution, to amend an agreement that we have with Plumbers Environmental Services. In the past year, we actually received a grant award from Eagle for our water asset management plan, and that also included some investigation into the water service lines within the city. We went out to bid, and Plumbers was the low bid, and in the amount of about $192,000. When we had originally worked with Avonmarsh on the budget for the grant request, we expected it to roughly $250,000 of that grant award would be spent on water service material investigation. So we have talked with Eagle and with Plumbers. Plumbers has agreed to honor their original bid amount and increase the contract award to increase up to that $250,000 or just shy of it at $249,437 to continue water service line investigation. And that additional increase would allow us to investigate more service lines and would be fully funded by the grant dollars.
So does this then give us a complete package? Does this complete the investigation?
It does not complete the investigation, but it gets us closer towards
All
our
right,
goal
how
of completing it.
much closer are we?
I didn't look at those numbers right beforehand, so I don't want to misstate that. I'd have to go back and look at Derek's presentation for the lead service line that we had last month.
But this exhausts the grant.
Correct. It exhausts the grant dollars that we were awarded through Eagle.
Okay, any questions? Would you please call the roll?
Fritz?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes. Next item, please.
Item B, consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve a special event request to hold a pickleball tournament at Mulligan's Hollow hosted by Lakeshore Pickleball Club and receive a $500 discount as outlined in the special event policy. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion?
So move. Support.
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Fritz. Questions on this? Or would you care to, would that be you or Dana?
Actually, we'll invite our Special Events and Waterfront Supervisor to introduce the
Brian.
two events this evening.
Good evening, Council. How are you doing? First up is the pickleball tournament from Lakeshore Pickleball Club, August 15th, 16th, 17th. They're looking to use the pickleball and tennis courts down at Mulligan's Hollow. Really pretty minor interruption of services. We're just going to shut down that Mulligan's Drive right in front for food trucks and some vendor tents. They'll bring in some portable restrooms. Nothing too out of the usual.
Okay. Questions for Brian?
Right, I see, the administration recommends approval to receive the discount. And I guess my question is that as I look at this, this is, it's a nonprofit, but it's really like a homeowners association is also a nonprofit. It's a pickleball club. It's a private ticketed event. They want exclusive use of our public courts on 2 dates. And, let's see, they also want to rent Sherwood, or the stadium. Anyway, as I looked at that, I kind of thought, wow, I'm just not sure. To me, that doesn't sound like the kind of things that we've provided the discount for. It seems like they've been more charitable, philanthropic kind of fundraising events where we've granted that. But I'm going to defer to my, I just saw that you recommended, I just wanted to know, was there something I wasn't seeing clearly on this, or is?
I think just
That-
because the only distinction we have within the special event policy was a 501c3. So that recommendation was made just simply fitting within that policy. I believe that fee waiver is only going to essentially waive one of the facility day rentals of the stadium. So the rest of the fees will be collected by from the event organizer.
Right. But part of the policy says that they are eligible for up to $500 discount at the discretion of council. I'm just trying to explain how I
Sure.
see that looks different to me than, say, someone that's trying to raise, I don't know, the Eagles doing something in order to pour back into, for a good cause or into the, so anyway.
If I could just clarify, I apologize for interrupting. The Lakeshore Pickleball Club has assisted the city financially in a number of improvements to those pickleball courts. Just using that as an example of some nonprofit work they've done to assist with that facility specifically.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
something to consider, but I'm still going back. It's a privated ticketed event, meaning that our members of the public are not going to be able to go. It's exclusive use of their public courts during the big season from Memorial, that falls Memorial Day to September, Labor Day. Anyway, I'd be inclined to say no, and they're having food trucks, I see, and they're having various, I see it just a little bit different.
Yeah, my understanding of the policy was an attempt to make this whole process more predictable and more regular. Still discretionary on the part of council, but it fits the category, nonprofit located within the city of Grand Haven, so that's why it's on here. Still our discretion, but like I say, I think that, because at one time this seemed like a very arbitrary process, and this kind of systematized it, so we're a little more predictable as to what we're granting and not, but it's still up to us.
I'm good with it.
Mike?
They have been a good partner with us. Every time we turn around, if they needed something down there when it came to repainting them or even resurfacing of the pickleball and tennis courts, they have stepped up to the plate and done a good job. Even also with the seating and arrangements down there and stuff like that, they've been helping us pretty much. So I don't have a problem with this whatsoever. It's been a good organization for to work in conjunction with the city itself. So I'm pretty well set with it.
My understanding, the $500 is not an out-of-pocket cost for us, it's more of an administrative cost, or just simply the fact that we charge for use of public property. And so it's not costing the city anything, it's more of a loss of opportunity for revenue.
It is a loss of opportunity for, and we're asking, for money. I just don't see, I don't see using the taxpayers' dollars to supplement a private club's use of, So, but that's just my point, my point of view, just trying to get some clarity.
Anyone else? Did you want to make a
think we-
motion to amend?
To amend? No, I mean, I was going to vote no on the $500 discount. I don't know if anyone else wants to amend to a lower amount, or you think that, because again, council has discretion up to $500.
Well, I think that the motion as it stands has the $500 discount, which would be up to $500, depending on what the actual costs incurred would be that are discountable. I don't know if that's exactly 500 or some other number. Otherwise, we can vote on it as it stands.
Hold on, is this?
Please call the roll then.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
No.
Manetza.
Yes.
This motion passes.
Okay, next item, please.
Item C, consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve a special event request to hold the celebration of service from 5 p.m. until 11 p.m. on Friday, June 6th and Saturday, June 7th, 2025 at Harbor Island, and apply up to a $250 discount to the park rental fee as outlined in the City of Grand Haven special event policy. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion on this one?
So moved?
Second.
Motion by Fritz, second by McLaughlin. You're up again.
Creative Community Entertainment, nonprofit. They do a lot of work for veteran organizations and create community awareness. They promote a lot of STEM activities for younger people and veterans returning to their communities. They're looking to rent out Harbor Island on June 6th and 7th. They would like to do a drone show out there, have some alcohol sales tents, live music, just trying to raise some money for a few different organizations.
Okay, and this would be a recurring event except that it's changed location.
Yep, it was at Mulligan's Hollow last year. A little too confined for them, so they'd like to do it at Harbor Island this year.
Okay. Questions? Comments?
That's a good event.
And they're also requesting a discount as a nonprofit, but they're not local, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If there are no questions, please call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. Okay, next item, please.
Item D, consideration by City Council of an approval of an introductory resolution to approve a major amendment to NODO's plan development for a non-illuminated sign on the south wall located at 1223 South Harbor Drive. Planning Commission recommends approval.
All right, I need a motion.
Motion. So moved.
Motion by McLaughlin.
I'd like to amend that motion, but I'll.
Well, we have to, yeah,
before
let's
we
get it on
do
the floor first.
But the thing is, I will second it.
Okay. Motion by McLaughlin, second by Fritz. And before we go farther, let's see, Brian's here. We had our public hearing at our last meeting. We waited to get actual language to vote on today. Is there anything you'd like to add or quickly summarize?
Yeah, Brian Arcart, city planner. We had the public hearing pursuant to the zoning ordinance for a plan development. And this is the draft first reading of the amendment to the plan development. And as we talked about 2 weeks ago, where right now the motion still remains to have a non-illuminated sign, but there's still an option within the ordinance for city council to amend that, to have an illuminated sign or place conditions on a sign. But
Okay.
nothing else has changed with the site plan, the size of the sign, any details, nothing has changed.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Fritz.
Okay, I'd like to amend it, and make a consideration for city council of approval of an introductory resolution to approve a major amendment to NODO's plan development for a illuminated sign on the south wall located at 1223 South Harbor Drive.
Second.
Okay, just for clarity, the illuminated sign would be the backlit letters as portrayed in the
Yes.
attached materials.
Yes.
Would you, there was
As
also,
as presented to us.
as presented to us, there was also discussion at Planning Commission about limiting hours that it would be on. Was anyone interested in going there?
I would be interested in council having a discussion about that. Would council be open to limiting the illumination, after hours, like 11 p to,
I'd like to
Sunrise.
have it matching the same as the other side, both signs at the same time. What do they have?
Is there a limitation on the hours of operation on the existing sign?
No.
No, okay, there is not.
I'd just like to leave it like the other side, both sides the same.
Okay. So,
I'd like to see it
well,
have that limitation. If we're talking about the amendment, I was
Yeah.
just,
well, we could do this, so.
could we have a little more discussion about,
Okay, well, right now we have a motion to amend, just simply making it the backlit illuminated sign. And that's been seconded. So we could vote on that and then discuss further if you want to make another amendment, rather than try to amend the amendment.
I just thought we might want to amend both sides, but if all three of you heard, well, I just didn't know if anybody else was open to doing what the Planning Commission, since we're reversing and overruling the Planning Commission's decision here, one of the other things, as you said, was to discuss, that was offered as another solution or meet in the middle, was to not have it illuminated during the nighttime hours when they were not open. And that also seemed to me, and maybe I misunderstood, but the Notos wanted it illuminated so that their patrons could find it. Well, they don't need to find the place in the middle of the night, correct? And it seemed, like a kind of meet in the middle sort of solution. So I just want to hear from you. If you're not, I won't make a motion to amend if
Here's my
all aren't-
take on it. I own a business, I have a light on mine, it's on all day and all night. It's lit, because people can see it, no matter what time. If they're driving down, at least I know it. If you drive down Beacon Boulevard, how many signs are illuminated all night?
but it doesn't face into a residential area.
It's not, the sign that they're showing up there doesn't even phase into it. It's still a business sign. It's not a bright sign like it was before. If you remember what the Bilmar sign was like, the big spotlights that were on it, this is a side lit thing. It's not, if you go by there at night and take a look at it, it's not illuminating into the district itself, into the neighborhood.
So you would not,
I have businesses in my neighborhood
so you would
that
not be
shine.
open to that? Just, Councilmember McLaughlin, would you be open to that, or no?
I'm fine.
You're
with
not
it.
open to that, okay.
I'm fine with it.
And I-
Then
and I
we may
could-
as well just go ahead with this.
Okay.
If it was
We can-
obnoxious, it'd be different, but I think it's a
Well,
very well-lit sign. So
and I guess just to address my feeling on what you're saying is, the other sign is not subject to any such constraint. Now you'd have one sign is, one side is not, and the existing sign is not in play here because it's not part of this proposed amendment to their plan development. And so we're
No,
not.
but you're amending this, and they don't have a sign there today, so it does affect
So you would have-
residents.
So you'd have
Um,
you have two very similar signs subject to different rules, which I personally would have a problem with.
Well, then tell them to put it on both. I mean, if you
Well, yeah,
wanted
but
to.
we can't go back to the other sign because it's already there, and it's,
All
what
right.
we're doing is amending a plan development. We would have to,
That's correct.
we would have to back up in the process a bit in order to tell them to alter an existing sign.
All right, I give. I'm just trying to find a
I
middle
understand.
solution here.
I thought it was good to have the discussion. And the planning commission did discuss this, but
Yeah, they
I
did.
think that's kind of where I'm at too. So we have a motion on the floor to amend this motion to go from a non-illuminated sign to one backlit illuminated as portrayed. Would you please call the roll on that?
Fritz,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
yes,
Lowe,
Yes,
Manetza.
Yes. Now, unless there's something else to discuss or amend, we need to vote on the main motion.
McLaughlin,
yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
yes.
Manetza.
Yes. Thank you. And that is the last of our new business. It brings us to a report by City Council. Who would like to speak first?
Go ahead. Don't talk about please don't talk about it.
No, I'm not going to.
Okay.
But I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and Happy Holidays to everybody else out there. I want to say thank you to our staff, the city employees, and everybody for all their hard work that they've done for the whole year for us. And I want to say thank you to the citizens of this town having us up here and voting us some back in here and that. So I tell you what, it is fantastic to be here in this town. We do sometimes have disagreements, but we agree to disagree. So it's really a good thing for us, and that's what we're supposed to do. So I want to wish everybody a great holiday season and then have a Happy New Year. And don't forget the ball drop. We got the ball drop coming up. And make sure you come down and enjoy it. It's going to be fantastic this year.
You said it all, Mike.
I made it sweet and short for you.
No, you said it all, Mike. Happy, really, seriously, hopefully everybody has a great Christmas and New Year's. We had a busy week with council, from East End lightings to ringing the bell for the Salvation Army. It was really a great week, and I'm glad we're able to participate and help out the community. I'm good, thanks.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'm good.
Okay. I wanted to echo a lot of what's been said. Appreciated all the holiday festivities, all the things that council has been allowed to be involved in this community. I attended, as did others, the Flahive Memorial Ceremony, which brings attention again to an event which happened 30 years ago when Officer Flahive was shot and killed. And it's important to keep that memory alive. Enjoyed the Jingle Bell Parade and all the other things. I wanted to remind everyone, we've had a couple of heavy snows. We will have more. It's kind of melted now, so we've got a reprieve, but I just wanted to remind everyone that snow shoveling on public sidewalks outside of a property is a primary responsibility of the property owner. We plow them as we can, we get to them when we can, so we have public plows, but the primary responsibility is still property owner gets out and shovels, and then we catch up as best we can with the public plowing. But that message seems to need to be repeated every year. And I would like to say one thing about Mr. Hagan's comment about the drawings for parking along Harbor Drive. Those plans came into existence during my first term as mayor. And I can tell you that this was something that was never presented to council. Council members may or may not have heard about it, but it was never brought to us as a project. My recollection is that Mr. McGinnis was prone to asking for background information and preliminary plans and things like that, which could be a concept, which could become a project, but this wasn't one. And so while it may exist on paper, it never existed in the realm of council action. So my piece of transparency there. I don't doubt that there's other things back there that were never brought forward, but this is one that council never acted on, never even talked about. So that's all I've got, and I'll turn it over to the city manager.
Okay. I don't have much this evening, just a reminder, as Mr. Fritz said, we have our New Year's Eve ball drop on December 31st. So similar to last year, we'll have live music starting at 9 p.m. Hopefully the weather will cooperate with us again. But again, live music at 9, fireworks at midnight. So please join us if you're able.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to our second call to the audience. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to may call in at 616-935-3203. Would anyone like to address council at this point?
Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I'd like to just give a shout out to the Grand Haven BLP and the Ottawa County Community Action Agency. I don't know if you've read it in November, but they had an event at River Haven Mobile Home Park. And that park has 700 units, 2,000 residents. And what they did was BLP went out there with their energy kits, light bulbs, et cetera. And then the Ottawa County Community Action Agency explained the programs available to lower-income residents. So I think that's a perfect example of how to go after, a segment of our community. And I consider that, even though it's, I think, in the township, at Mercury and 144th Avenue, that it is part of our, mandate to save energy in this area and to reduce carbon. So, hey, good job, guys. And I'd like to hear from them what the next 4 items on their list was, because they're really thinking in the right direction there.
Okay, well, thank you. Anyone else?
Jean Madden, 1625 Gladys. I would just like to ask you to aggressively pursue the idea of a community energy coordinator, and I'll explain why through our own experience. So we remodeled our house, and we needed a new roof, so we pursued solar. So we put solar panels on that cover all our electricity use, and I have an electric car. So we had a $10,000 federal tax credit, so our payback is only 9 years. And our only expense is a $20 a month. It's just the utility fees that everyone has to pay. So our costs are fixed. I don't pay for gas, and I have $20 a month electricity bill. I think a lot of residents would really appreciate that kind of financial stability and cost savings in their life. Over time, of course, you have a payback period, but it's incredible, the financial stability that you see with clean energy. So, thanks.
Well, thank you. Yeah, good specific examples always are always helpful. Anyone else? If not, I would remind everyone, there's probably still cookies out there. So, with that, we are adjourned.
Merry Christmas.